Something has already begun that cannot be stopped, reversed, or hidden any longer. The masks are falling, not slowly, not gently, but all at once, like a stage set collapsing in real time. And you are standing in the middle of it, watching. The faces of people you thought you knew reveal something entirely different underneath. This is not a breakdown. This is not chaos. This is a controlled exposure, orchestrated by forces far older and more precise than human strategy. The truth is surfacing everywhere around you simultaneously, and the reason it is happening now is directly connected to who you are in the entire arc of spiritual history. There is a moment described across dozens of ancient traditions, a moment called the Great Unveiling. It does not happen to every soul. It does not happen in every era. It occurs only when a chosen soul has reached a level of inner truth so solid, so unshakable, that the universe responds by stripping away every false layer surrounding them. The light they carry becomes too intense for masks to survive near. Deception cannot maintain its structure in proximity to that frequency. What is happening around you right now is not ordinary. It is cosmically scheduled and spiritually exact. God, think about a moment recently when you could have pretended, when you could have played along, worn a mask of your own, agreed with something you knew in your bones was wrong. Maybe it was a conversation where everyone else nodded and you stayed quiet instead of lying. Maybe it was a relationship where you finally let your real feelings be visible even though it was terrifying. Maybe it was simply a moment where you refused to shrink into a version of yourself that made others comfortable. That choice, that refusal to be false, is what triggered the exposure sequence happening around you now. You have been observed for longer than you know. There are forces, some operating in shadow, some operating in light, that monitor souls who carry a certain quality of truth. The dark ones watched you, hoping you would eventually compromise, eventually perform, eventually trade your authenticity for acceptance or approval. They sent people wearing friendly faces to test whether your truth could be purchased. The divine forces watched for something different. They were watching to see if you would hold your reality steady, even when holding it cost you something real. Both sides have been watching. Only one side has seen what they hoped to see. The tests were not labeled as tests. They came disguised as relationships, opportunities, and ordinary conversations. There was the person who praised you publicly and undermined you privately, and you sensed it, but chose to observe rather than react. There was the opportunity that required you to be someone you were not, and you walked away, even though it looked like success from the outside. There was the moment someone rewrote history in front of others, and you had to decide between defending yourself loudly or trusting that truth would surface on its own. You chose truth over performance. Every time. Every single time got in the higher dimensional records. There exists a category of soul that the ancient texts call a truth anchor. Not a truth speaker, a truth anchor. The distinction matters. A truth speaker declares what is real. A truth anchor holds the frequency of reality so steady that everything false in their environment begins to destabilize automatically. You have been reclassified into this category. The beings responsible for soul classification do not make this adjustment lightly. It requires documented evidence across multiple lifetimes and multiple tests within a single incarnation. Your file has been reviewed. The reclassification is complete. You are now operating as something the darkness genuinely cannot afford to ignore. God, at the exact moment the first mask began falling in your life, the moment the first false person or false situation began revealing its true nature, something occurred in the realm that exists above this one. The archangels assigned to the ministry of truth turned their complete focus toward your coordinates. The divine intelligence, the one that holds all things in perfect order, witnessed a soul standing still inside a storm of revelation without flinching. without collapsing, without becoming false themselves in response to the falseness being exposed. That stillness was noted. That courage was witnessed. What was witnessed by that level of consciousness does not go unanswered. A sequence was activated. It moved through the architecture of your reality like a current through water, invisible but absolute in its effect. The universe issued a recalibration across every relationship, every environment, every circumstance connected to your life. Those built on truth began to strengthen. Those built on performance and deception began to crack at their foundations. You did not cause this with strategy or confrontation. You caused it by simply being unwilling to be false. The decree that followed your divine witnessing reads, in effect, like this: let everything around this soul now reflect what this soul actually is. And so it is. You are not someone who stumbled into this moment accidentally. You are an ancient soul who has lived through multiple cycles of exactly this: the collapse of false structures, the surfacing of hidden truths, the moment when reality refuses to wear a costume any longer. In other lifetimes, this moment broke you. In this one, you are prepared differently. You came into this incarnation with something installed at a level deeper than personality or memory, an unbreakable commitment to what is real. That is, not a character trait you developed. That is your original design. The chosen one does not choose truth. The chosen one is truth, remembering itself. Your mission during this exposure period is precise, and it is not what most people would expect. You are not here to expose others. You are not here to broadcast the falseness being revealed. Your mission is to remain so authentically, quietly, powerfully yourself that your presence becomes the standard by which everything false measures itself and is found lacking. You are an anchor, not a weapon. Every time you respond to deception with clarity instead of cruelty, every time you let truth work without forcing it, you fulfill a mission that was assigned before you arrived here. The exposure happening around you is not your doing. It is your effect. Watch the physical world begin to reorganize itself around your truth now. Situations that were tangled will begin to resolve with unusual speed. People who were confusing will suddenly become completely transparent. You will see exactly who they are and exactly what role they play. Resources, relationships, and opportunities that are genuinely aligned with your real identity will begin arriving, not as reward, but as natural consequence, the way water finds its level without effort. The masks falling around you are creating space. Space that was previously occupied by illusion is now available for something real. And real things in your life are about to move fast. The people who witness this season of your life, even from a distance, will be changed by it. They will watch the truth surface around you, and something in them will stir. They will begin questioning their own masks, their own performances, their own tolerance for falseness in their relationships and circumstances. They will not always be able to explain why your story affected them. They will only know that after encountering it, they found it harder to be dishonest, harder to pretend, harder to stay comfortable inside their own illusions. You are not just being liberated from deception. You are demonstrating that liberation is possible. That demonstration travels. You are not moving through this alone, and this exposure is not isolated to your life. Right now, across this world, thousands of truth anchors are entering the same sequence. Their masks are falling too, the masks around them, and the layers they themselves wore out of survival. They are in different cities, different cultures, speaking different languages, but they are recognizing the same patterns, feeling the same clarifying shift, watching the same collapse of false structures in their environments. When enough truth anchors operate at full exposure simultaneously, something happens at the collective level. Reality itself becomes harder to falsify. The world gets more honest because you got more real. if what you just heard did not feel like new information, but like something ancient inside you being confirmed, then you already know what to do. Comment 777 below right now. That number carries a frequency between souls who are awake to this process. It is a signal that says, I am here. I recognize this. I am part of this network of truth. Share this with one person in your circle who is currently watching masks fall in their own life and does not yet have language for what is happening. Subscribe and stay close, because what comes next goes deeper into how to navigate the exposure season without losing yourself inside it.